Welcome back to another episode of the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jambert. Today, we got NFL, NBA, MLB. We're starting off, obviously, NBA. It's that time of year. NBA's, all around the media. So, like we've been doing the past few weeks now, talk about the playoffs. We'll start off talking about the games from last night, preview the two games for tonight, and then after that, talk about the Celtics and what's next for them in the future. After that, we're going to the NFL, talking about the NFL. Their schedules just got released, so we'll look over some of that. And then ending it off, going to the MLB, talking about Pete Rose and many others removed from the MLB ban list. It's a huge thing, Many of these guys have, been banned from the MLB for betting and other sorts of things like that. And a lot of them now have been officially removed because, the MLB is removed basically just promotes gambling now. So they got removed for that. So that's pretty cool, I guess. But before we get into any of that, however, tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated. By tipping and donating, you guys are showing your support for us, and we're putting out the best content that we possibly can every day. And by you guys donating and tipping and showing your support really means the world. So please feel free to tip or donate. And if you wish to do that and you happen to be in the live stream, feel free to do that by using the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the two links in the bio and in the description. Even if you don't want to tip or donate and you still want to show support, feel free to leave a comment, YouTube or live stream. Best way to do that. So feel free to do that. But like I said, if you do wish to show your support by tipping and donating and you happen to be in the live stream, feel free to do that by using the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you just want to, if you're not in the live stream and wish to tip or donate, feel free to do that by using the two links in the bio and in the description. Now, with that being said, let's get in the first segment and first topic of the day, which is the NBA semis recap. I have not changed that title for about a week now, and it's kind of nice. I don't have to go and change it every day because I don't really have to. Talk. There's always basketball to be talked about. We're going to talk about it. So, two games last night. We had the Cleveland Cavaliers playing Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Denver Nuggets. And I don't remember exactly which games I picked yesterday. I know I got the Denver game wrong. I had Denver winning, and they did not win. We'll talk about that first because, I already started talking about that. So, Denver Nuggets, they lost last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Thunder are now up 3-2 in the series, which is, being down 3-2, just being down in the series in general is never good, but being down 3-2, giving, if OKC wins the next game, they're in, they're gone, they're moving on, Denver's done, and that's never, in a good spot to be in. So Denver has to climb up next game, powerhouse through it, and now just play their basketball. They have to win to go on to Game 7, win or go home. And the problem is, though, the Nuggets, they just can't seem to all have a consistent night. I've been noticing this. Last night, Jokic had an insane game, having like 60 overall points. He had like 44 points. He had a great night. Jamal Murray at 28. But then got guys, Michael Porter Jr. putting up 4 points, Russell Westbrook putting up 2 points, Christian Braun putting up 8 points. I mean, it's just you're not going to win games when your team is just not playing to their best potential. You just simply won't win games, and that's just the truth. That's just simply the truth. I'm sorry, but it is. You cannot win games if only two players are playing well. Yeah, Aaron Gordon played good. He didn't play great. He didn't play, like he's been playing this series so far. But like I said, when you have two starters in Christian Braun and Michael Porter Jr. putting up like 6 points combined, you're not gonna win games. You just won't. And it was a great game. At halftime, it was in favor of the Thunder. I believe they were up 56-54. It was like 54-52, one of those scores like that. And they were only up 2 points. And it was a great game. The game overall was a good game. I mean, there was never a time in that game when one team was leading heavily over the other. The Thunder were never leading by 15, 20 points. Denver was never down or up a lot either. It was very close the entire game. And that's why, those are the best type of games. The games are close. They're, they're not blowouts, and that's good basketball. This is why this is playoff basketball, and that's why I love it. And these are two really good teams. This is the battle, of the MVPs. This is SGA and the Thunder, who's him, possibly going to win his first MVP versus Jokic, who's looking to win his third, and or fourth, sorry. But is it third? Yeah, third. So I forgot, sorry. But I mean, he's just this SGA honestly has not played that good this series. He really hasn't. For his standards, SGA isn't playing to MVP caliber basketball that he's been playing all season. He's been kind of slowed down. And you have the good defenders on you. If you're driving, you're trying to go against Jokic in the paint. Even though Jokic honestly isn't that good of a defender, he's still just so tall, and he's able to just kind of stand there and make you just not be able to make plays. It's that simple. So, I mean, this is a great series though overall. I mean, Jokic, MVP Jokic, looking to win another MVP and take the Denver Nuggets back to the Western Conference Finals, since he hasn't been there in 2 years. Or yeah, he went in 2023 and he didn't make it back last year. So, they're just looking to get another one. They want to go back. They fired their head coach only a week before playoffs started, which I thought was absolutely insane. And they're looking to go back. They're looking to make a statement. If they're going back to the Western Conference Finals, they're looking to win. They will end up either playing, Golden State or Minnesota, which I believe will be Minnesota. Which the Western Conference Finals will be Minnesota versus either OKC or Denver. But I think Denver really wants this. So many guys in the team. This is a reason I think they will win this series, because they want to get Russ that ring. People have been saying all season, we're here to get Russ a ring. And, this Nuggets team is a team that, is very bonded. They're very close together. They have great team chemistry, and there's a lot of leaders on this team. A lot of leaders. And this team is something that every player wants to be a part of. These guys are just so close together. And OKC is like that too, but not like Denver. Denver is honestly one of the most, close teams in the NBA, just based off how much they all get along, I guess you could say. How much they all, can play well with each other. So I do believe Denver can still come back within the series. I think they can win the next 2 games if needed. Well, they do need to now. But them being down 3-2 doesn't matter. I think they will come back and win the series 4-3. Yeah, SGA, Hartenstein, Chet, that's a really good team. OKC is the best team in the NBA, but when you're playing against the best player in the NBA in Jokic, it doesn't matter. I think they're all going to, I think from this point on, I think Denver will be playing the best basketball they possibly can to ensure, we're moving forward. We're going to the Western Conference Finals. We're going to go beat Minnesota, and then we're going to go beat either New York, honestly probably the Knicks, or the Pacers tonight. I mean, well, not the Pacers, but Pacers, Celtics, or Knicks, whoever makes it to the NBA Finals out of the East. But I mean, this series has been great, honestly. Like I said, there's been no, besides that game 2, where it was like a 30-point blowout in favor of OKC. There hasn't been a single bad game. All these games have been super close, super fun to watch, and all these players have been playing great basketball. Even though SGA has kind of been toned down in his gameplay, he's not playing MVP basketball right now, but he's still playing good basketball, just not the way he's been playing all season. So, but like I said, great series overall. And last night, the other game last night, Indiana versus Cleveland. Cleveland has lost Game 5, and now they've been eliminated from the playoffs. Indiana has really just kind of dominated this whole playoff series. They really have. Both their series, they've won in 5, letting each Milwaukee and Cleveland only combine for 2 wins in this whole playoffs. Very good. That is very good so far. This Indiana Pacers team is very deep. It is a very, very deep team with a lot of talent. Tyrese Halliburton is proving everybody wrong, saying, I'm the most overrated player in the league. Okay, bet. Watching you play basketball. And he's just hooping. He's not, putting up, crazy numbers, but him and his team are just playing so well together. Obviously, this team is loaded with talent. Obviously, Halliburton. What the Halliburton? Every time I said that name, I was thinking of that song. But Halliburton, Siakam, Benedict Mathurin, this team is so good. Miles Turner. I mean, this team is loaded with talent. It really is a very loaded and stacked team with talent. And this team is, I had them losing first round to Milwaukee. I had them losing in 5 to Milwaukee. And this team has really just come out and just kind of proved themselves to be the best, one of the best teams in the NBA in the playoffs. 2 years in a row they're going back to back Eastern Conference Finals. I doubt they get swept this year in the finals. And honestly, I think they could beat whoever they play. I think they can absolutely make their way to the NBA Finals this postseason. I 100% believe it. But Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs, they got a lot to work on. I mean, obviously, they lost again in the second round. They can't seem to get past that second round slump. That's a great team. A lot of their players were out with injury. Garland and Mobley, they were out 3 of those games, and that's going to cost you games. When two of your best players are out, you're going to lose games. You really are. It just finding replacements for guys like that is pretty hard to come by. So them losing those two is an absolute, huge loss. So that could be, a contribution to why they lost those games. But I do believe that, if Garland and Mobley were playing every game so far, it could be like a 3-2, 3-2 split. Not 3-2 split, but like a 3-2 lead in favor of either team. I think wouldn't be over right now. I think it'd still be going to game 6. But that's only up for hypotheticals. What if he was healthy? Oh, imagine if, just how it is. So, Cleveland had a great season too. Cleveland had nothing short of a great season. One of the best records in the NBA. They were games above, the Celtics, who were in second place. They played a lot better than, not even that played a lot better, but they were multiple games over that second place spot over Boston. I believe the Celtics were like 10 games behind them, maybe like 8 or something like that. So they had a really dominant season. And, seeing them fall short like this is kind of surprising. No one saw this coming. No one saw Cleveland being bounced in the second round. A lot of people saw them going to the NBA Finals, or, going to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. So no one saw it coming, but, that's just basketball at the end of the day. People lose. That's how it is. So overall, that series was kind of underwhelming. I thought Cleveland put up a better fight, but with their star players out, it just tends to happen. Lose early, go home. That's all I got for you guys in this segment. Next segment, stick with the NBA, talking about the 2 games tonight. After that, we're talking more NBA. We're talking about Tatum, and we're going to specifically talk about Jason Tatum and the Celtics, what's in the future for them. After that, going to the NFL, talking about scheduling, and then final segment, going to the MLB, Pete Rose, and the MLB ban list. Talk about all that after the break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Noel Jammer. First segment, we previewed the 2 games last night, talked about those 2 NBA games. This segment, segment number 2, we're talking about the games for tonight, 2 NBA games tonight. After this segment, we stick with the NBA, talking about Jason Tatum and the Celtics. After that, we're going to segment number 4, talking about the NFL and the scheduling that just came out, big time games, all that stuff. And then segment number 5, we're talking about the MLB and people being taken off the all-time ban list. But before we get into any of that, however, we have to talk about this. Tips and donations. Tips and donations are always greatly appreciated By you guys tipping and donating, you guys are showing your support for our channel. And when you guys tip or donate, it really means the world. So please, if you wish to tip or donate and show your support for the channel, feel free to do that by using the super chat and the sticker feature if you're in the live stream. And if you're not in the live stream, the 2 links in the bio and in the description. Even if you don't wish to tip or donate and still want to show your support, feel free to just leave a comment. Live stream comment section is the best way to do that. If you're in the live stream, leave a comment right now, whatever you want. I'll see that as soon as you send it in, so I'll be able to, respond to that. But even if you're not in the live stream, YouTube as well. I don't get to that, I get to that a little slower than, live stream ones, but I'll get to that as soon as I can. So leave a comment wherever you want, live stream or YouTube. I'll respond to that as soon as I can. Being able to talk to, the fans listening, guys showing your support for us really means the world. So feel free to leave a comment, and it just really means the world that I'd be able to, talk sports with you guys. That's why I'm here. It's my job. I love it. So feel free to do that. But like I said, even if you want to show your support and you happen to be in the live stream, feel free to tip or donate by using the super chat and the sticker feature. And if you're not in the live stream, the 2 links in the bio and in the description. With that being said, let's get to topic number 2 for today, which is the 2 NBA games tonight. 2 games tonight, both 3-1 series. We have New York up in Boston. They're up 3-1 against Boston tonight. And we have Minnesota up 3-1 on Golden State tonight. We'll talk about New York series first. That's the first game of the night, so we'll talk about it. The New York Knicks are currently up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics. And this is a spot I did not see New York being in. I really didn't. I really believe that New York, after beating my Detroit Pistons, breaks my heart to say that, but that's the game. Your team loses, stuff happens. But I really believe Boston was going to beat them in a 4 or 5 game series. They've just completely contradicted me. They have actually been, losing a lot of games. It's only been 4 games, but they've lost 3. And I had them losing in 5 or winning in 5. They're now probably going to lose in 5, honestly. With Tatum now being out, that's an absolute horrible thing that happened to him. So it's prayers up for him, obviously. But then when you lose your star player like that, especially in a crucial playoff time like this, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. It really is. So New York is, and they've been playing great this whole series as well. There is no doubt in my mind that New York has been playing their best basketball of their season. They have been playing so good so far this season, and they've really just come to play. They really have. This New York Knicks team, is built around beating the Boston Celtics. It really is. And you probably heard that. If you're watching this, you've probably seen a million clips of people saying that. It's really true. This team was built around beating Boston. And you can if you look at the player comparisons, you can see that. They're just so evenly matched. Even though I do believe this, I've said this a lot. I believe Boston has, their one-on-ones. I believe Boston beats every player if they're in a one-on-one game. Their point, let's just say Celtic versus New York point guard battle. I think Boston has that. Shooting guard, Boston. Power forward, small forward, Boston. Center, that's debatable. Kristoff or Porzingis versus Cat, that could be debatable. But I really believe that, Boston just outmatched them in every category. But nah, the Celtics this season have been, not even this season, they were, just so mediocre. They were 0-10 against big time teams, lost 4 games to Cleveland, 4 games to Boston, 2 games to OKC. They couldn't get it done against the big teams. And in the playoffs, it's exactly what they've been doing. They have been getting it done against the big teams. I wouldn't say Detroit's, a huge team, but they got the job done over there. But they've just been power through in Boston. Even with Tatum when he was there, they were just manhandling them. They really were. This series has been just a complete turnaround. It really has. No one saw this coming. No one did. Jalen Brunson's been playing great. Mikal Bridges this series has been playing really good. He's only, don't look at the averages. I don't want people to be looking at, they listen to this and then go look at, Mikal Bridges' averages right now for the series. He's averaging 13? If you watch him play, he's doing a lot more than averaging 13 points a game. He really is. He is putting up multiple 20-point games throughout the series, and he's been playing great. Cat's been playing okay. Josh Hart is playing good. This whole Knicks team just playing to win. I don't think they'll get past Indiana. I mean, I said this again. I said that against said that for them against Boston, but look at us now. But you know, it's just insane. It really is that New York is kind of just coming out and proving that yeah, we're here. We're here to play, and we're gonna beat Boston, and we're gonna prove to everybody that we're not scrubs. We're a good team, and that's kind of insane to think about. Really, they've really just proved themselves this whole season, and tonight I think they will end up. I believe it's in Boston tonight. So if they end up going to the Garden and beating Boston in 5, insane. It'd actually be insane to end this really great Boston Celtics season just in a game 5, especially after a team that everybody thought would be losing in 4 or 5, and then it has come and proved to be one of the best teams, in this playoff right now. I mean, they're playing great basketball. They've just outmatched Boston in every way. So, I mean, shout out to the New York Knicks. They're playing great. Honestly, they really are. In the other game tonight, we have Minnesota versus Golden State. And this series is over. It really is. I don't care. Even if Steph Curry comes back tonight, which I haven't gotten any reports about him coming back. Maybe he is, but even if he is, they're not winning. The Steph Curry isn't, he's a great player. He's an all-time great player. But Minnesota, this team is just better than Golden State in every way possible. They really are. I mean, yeah, Golden State's got some great players, but they can't match with Minnesota. They really can't. This series, I wanted Golden State to win, but I didn't think they were, and I was right. I had Minnesota winning, and I think it was like 6 or 5 when I originally said, but I wouldn't have been opposed to Golden State winning either. But Minnesota's a great team. They really are. They're a great young team, and they deserve this. I mean, they're also going to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. They're with Indiana, and this year I think they, regardless of who they play, they're going to make a statement, and they might, honestly, I could see them going to the NBA Finals this year. They're a great team. They're a very young, very athletic team. A lot of just good players in the team. DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, obviously Anthony Edwards, Naj Reid, Gobert. I mean, it's a great team. So I believe tonight, Minnesota comes out on top tonight, ending this Warriors, kind of run, insanity run, and just kind of maybe putting the dynasty in the ground. Who knows? That's all I got for you guys in this segment. Next segment, stick with the NBA. Talk about Jason Tatum and the Celtics. What's next for them? After that, going to the NFL. Talk about scheduling that just came out today. Ending it off, talking about MLB and Pete Rose, getting taken off the all-time ban list. So we'll get to all that after the break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Sorry about that. I think there was something I had to take care of real quick. It was yeah, sorry about that. But welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First 2 segments we covered, NBA, previewed the game for tonight, talked about the games last night. This segment, sticking with the NBA, we're talking on. Oh, I gotta fix that. Whoa, wait. Why is it like that? There we go. Talking about what's next for Jason Tatum and the Celtics? This team, there's a lot going on in Boston, so we'll talk about that. After this segment, we're talking about, NFL. We're going to the scheduling. After that, talking about Pete Rose and the ban list, him getting taken off that, many others. We'll talk about that as well. But we're here talking about what's next for Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics. So, last segment I kind of touched on it, talking about, because they're playing a game tonight. The Celtics are currently down 3-1 in the series against New York. And, I really believe that at the start of this playoffs, I wholeheartedly believed that the Boston Celtics were going to go back-to-back. I really thought they were, that good of a team. I thought they 100% could go back-to-back. But they couldn't. I don't think they will. I think, honestly, they lose tonight, maybe lose tonight, and their season will be over in 5 games. Especially, no one saw this coming either. No one saw this powerhouse of a team, this Boston Celtics team, losing to the New York Knicks. Everybody called this team overrated. Everybody called them, they're just not that good of a team. No one saw them, going and losing to them in 5. People thought the Celtics would win in 4. Honestly, I was one of those. I thought Boston was going to be in 4, but I've just been proven completely wrong. And it's not surprised. I'm actually not mad about it either. But so this team has a lot to work around. Obviously, Jason Tatum. Talk about that. Absolute tragedy. What happened to him last game? Absolute tragedy. Tore his Achilles mid-game, and he already thankfully had successful surgery, so that was great for him. Prayers up for him though. I mean, it's a long road for recovery. It really is. And after having a great season last year, winning the NBA championship, and him coming back, looking to go back to back, not even go necessarily back to back, but they 100% could, but at least going back to the NBA Finals. I thought that was a 100% possibility, but this team, when you lose your star player in Tatum, there's a lot to focus on. And the first thing that they're going to focus on is his health. He already had surgery, and he won't be back for a while. And for a while, I mean, the next chance he will have to play basketball will not be until 2026. No. Yeah, 2026. And maybe 2027. Maybe. But, I mean, the only chance of basketball, I truly believe this, the only chance I see him playing at all next season is if the Celtics make the NBA Finals again and they want to play him, or it's the only way I see him playing. It really is. I mean, you cannot rush an Achilles tear and rush him back out there. It never ends well. No player comes back the same. No, their performance just drastically drops. It's insane. So, and rushing him, they could rush injury again. Could get injured again. It's horrible. It really is. So, and you can't rush him back. You really just can't. You just can't not rush. I mean, he's a great player. He is one of the best players that in the league. Honestly, he really is. He gets a lot of hate for just being himself. He really does. He likes to look after his icons. Kobe Bryant, and he gets a lot of hate for it. And it's kind of dumb now. I was pretty funny at the start, but now when that first started to come out, but now it's just kind of boring. It really is. Stop. Let the guy just play basketball and admire his models, his role models. But it does suck. He's a great player. He's only 19 years old. No, he's not. That's the joke. But he's 27, 26, and he still has. He's in his prime right now. And it really hurts to see these great players get hurt in the middle of their prime when they're playing their best basketball, and now their prime could be cut short because an Achilles tear. It's just brutal. It really is just absolutely horrible to see what happened to him. So he's got a long road ahead of him. Recovery wise. Hopefully he comes back fully healthy whenever he comes back. I really hope he does. So hopefully hoping for a speedy recovery for him, but who knows if that'll come through. But besides that, what's next for Boston? They will probably end up losing this series. I don't see them coming back down 3-1, especially after how good the Knicks have been playing them. They have really been playing them so well, Sorry, I gotta turn up my phone. But they've really been playing just so well. They really have. And the Boston Celtics they just can't keep up. They just cannot keep up with them. They really can't. So what's next? So I think they lose game at least 5 or 6. I think they lose the series, and they have to go kind of in not like a rebuild, but they have to revamp what they got going on. They have to clear up some house, clear house, clear up some space. And they have so much money they have to spend on players this offseason. Obviously Tatum, that's a big one. Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, Horford, Drew Holiday, Derek White. I mean, they have too much money to spend. I believe it's like $500 million in luxury tax. I believe is what it is, or like 700 million. Sorry, $700 million in luxury tax, which is insane. That no organization wants to pay that. Originally they were fine with paying the 500 million, but 700 million, that's way too much money. So what should they do? What I think their best course of action to start is get rid of. He's a great player, Al Horford. He is the second or third most tenured player in the league right now, behind LeBron and maybe Chris Paul. But if not Chris Paul, he might be above that. Then it's just behind LeBron. But I mean, he's been around for so long, and he's a great player. He is still, even at his age, he's playing great basketball. I mean, I wouldn't say he's playing like phenomenal, but he's playing good for his age, and he's a huge role player for this. Not a role player, just a great player for the Celtics team. I mean, he's a great person to have around. Someone who's been around the league for a while. He's a great mentor, great coach to these new young players. So, but even though with all that, they have to let him go. His contract's pretty big. Let him go. And maybe get rid of, honestly, Derek White. I mean, Derek White, either Derek White or Drew Holiday. I mean, there's a lot to get. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be either one. Whoever's contract is bigger, I think they'll end up getting rid of. I believe that's Drew Holiday's. His contract is pretty big. So I'll get rid of him. And honestly, when Porzingis' contract is up, he's gone. That's going to be a lot of money gone. So, they have, they can make some moves, trade. They can honestly trade some players for picks, maybe instead of cutting them or like just, not even cutting. Yeah, I guess like cutting and releasing, but trading, Derek White for a first round pick and a second round pick for whatever team needs them, or Drew Holiday or Al, or whoever. They got to get draft picks and start, drafting some young talent for cheap rookie contracts, which is, that's huge. They have too much money. That's the problem. The Celtics have so much money, and they like to spend it, but that's the problem. Their tax at the end is just going to hurt them, and they don't want to pay that. And, they're just in a weird spot. They just have so much money that they need to get rid of, and no, it's just, they're in a bad spot. So, honestly, the best course of action for them is 100% to, just kind of just reset. It really is, kind of reset. We can't renegotiate contracts in the NBA, which I think is kind of stupid. I think you should be able to do that. But they have to, they're going to keep, I think they keep Tatum and Brown. I think those are two guys those are must keepers. And everybody else is fair game to go. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Horford. Maybe Peyton Pritchard, and maybe he stays. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure how big his contract is exactly. But, I mean, he just won 6th Man of the Year. So, I mean, you're not gonna cut a guy after he just won, an award. I'd be very surprised if they do. But who knows? I mean, they have a lot to focus on, a lot to work on, and it's it's kind of only a matter of time before we know, because next year is going to be a rebuild year, especially Tatum's being out. Brown will be the face of the team next year most likely, and they have new management coming in. They got new someone I forgot who just bought the team, but they got some new management coming in, and they're either going to keep playing the best basketball they can and maybe try to get like a 5 or 6 seed, or they tank. I wouldn't say like a huge tank, but tank by only winning like 20, 25 games. So like a pretty, I don't know, just not like a huge, like lose as many games as possible, but win a few games so you're not getting like, the lowest odds in the draft, but, not, so we're getting, a 14th overall pick. They got to get maybe like a 5%, 5 to like 8% chance of getting that first round pick. That's what they should be next year. So maybe try to win, 25, 30 games and just see where that takes you. But they're in a weird spot. New leadership coming in, contracts they got to pay. So, I mean, they're in a really weird spot with what they're gonna do. So it's only a matter of time, but we'll know soon enough. But who knows? There's too much money. There's too much money on the table to be spent, and new players coming in, they want to sign. So we'll know soon. That's all I got for you guys in this segment. Next segment, we're going to the NFL, talking about the new scheduling that's coming out. That's came out. We'll talk about that after that, and then talk about the MLB and people being taken off the all-time ban list. Talk about that after the break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Sorry, I was mid-water sip. I didn't want to, stop to come back. But, I had to finish that water. It's really cold. You got some ice in it. Ooh, cold. It's really great. But, welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jamber. First three segments, we talked NBA. We talked about, obviously, the games from last night and previewed the two games of the night. Then, last segment, we talked about Jason Tatum and the Celtics. What's next for that? There's a lot going on over there. Talk about that. This segment, number 4, we're talking about NFL schedules. The schedule just got released, who's playing on what days, all that stuff. So we're going to talk about that. So, yeah, schedule just got released. Who's playing international games, the Christmas Day games, all that. Excuse me. So, what do we got? What are some of the things that we have positioned for us so far? So, one of the big things that is, I guess you could say one of the bigger, what did I say? Nah, I'm not gonna say that. But there's obviously, a lot of primetime games every year. Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, all that stuff. Then you got, you got these Christmas Day games, Thanksgiving Day games, Halloween. I guess you could say Halloween. But there's a lot going on. So first off, let's talk about the Christmas Day games. So there's 2 games on Christmas Day. Dallas versus Washington, and my Detroit Lions, let's go, playing the Minnesota Vikings on Christmas Day. That's awesome. I mean, Christmas Day, has always been, for basketball. It's always been a day for basketball. And that's when they put, the biggest games on the air. It's always like, Boston versus New York, LA. I think this year was like LA versus Minnesota. They have great games. Just whatever teams have the biggest name players, that's who they play on Christmas Day. But now, since the NFL has started putting games on Christmas, they, have kind of started to, lose their ratings a little bit. They really have. And the NFL has taken over Christmas. They really have. I mean, if you look at the ratings in the past few years and the NFL started on Christmas, NFL has been constantly just taking over the viewerships. They really have. I mean, NFL is honestly it's kind of, it's a great sport to watch. I love watching football, and especially when it's your team playing, you're going to get a lot of people watching, especially when it's your team playing. So That's two great matchups. I mean, Dallas versus Washington this year, they're both conference rival matchups too, which is really cool. I like that a lot. And Dallas versus Washington could be a great game. Dallas, they're in a weird spot. Dallas is gonna be a really weird team to watch this year. Could be a 9-8, 10-7 type of team, make the playoffs, wild card. Who knows? I mean, Washington made it last year, and no one saw them going far. Grant, they got slaughtered in the NFC Championship game, but still, I mean, they made it there. Congrats to them. So that could be a great game. The Minnesota versus Detroit, I mean, both those games this year for Minnesota versus Detroit games are amazing. I mean, obviously, the Lions are number 1 in the NFC last season, and Vikings got the 5th seed. So it's gonna be a great game. I believe. I'm not sure like who's home, who's away for those games, but I'm assuming it's probably in Dallas and probably in Minnesota. That's just. Oh no, I think they're in Dallas and in Detroit. I'm not sure though. But yeah, I mean those are two great games to have. I mean, because last year the Christmas Day games are pretty weak. It was like Denver versus Miami, which is a pretty poor game. And then it was like some other really bad. I think it was like Arizona versus. I don't know. It wasn't a good game. The games last year Christmas were just not good. They really weren't. And when they're scheduling good games on Christmas, you're gonna get more viewers. And they're scheduling those pretty weak games. If you're still beating the NBA in viewership with pretty weak games, imagine how good the viewership's gonna be when you have these pretty high quality, high caliber teams play. It's gonna be great. And speaking of just kind of scheduling, just teams. Before we get into the more other games, I guess we'll talk about strength of schedule. So some players have, some teams, have been getting kind of screwed over recently, I guess you could say, with schedules. Scheduling games have been, the NFL strength of schedule has been pretty hard the past few years. I mean, the Giants, they've had the hardest schedule the past 2 seasons now, and it's kind of weird. They're giving the teams with not the best record season prior some of the hardest schedules. I mean, the Bears have the number 2. Oh, the Giants are at 1, and they had the first overall pick obviously this year in the draft, and obviously not the first overall pick. Sorry, they had the 3rd overall pick. And they did the Bears. The Bears had a better season than 2 seasons ago, but still a pretty poor season, and they have the 2nd overall pick this year. And or second hardest draft schedule. I'm not thinking about the draft. So strength of schedule wise, Giants are at 1 and Bears are at 2, and those were honestly probably the 2 of the lesser good teams last year in the NFL. I'll say that. Then you got the Lions and the Eagles at 4 and 5, and then so that makes sense. You're having good teams. That's the Super Bowl winner and the number 1 team in the NFC. They have 3 and 4, the hardest schedules in the NFL, which makes sense. The team with a good record from last year should have a harder schedule compared to a team with when teams have a worse record and have the hardest schedules, it's kind of insane. So, and then last you have the Niners at last. The Niners have the easiest schedule this year, and I can still see them missing the playoffs. The Niners team needs a complete revamp. They really do. They haven't added anybody big. They haven't made any big trades, big moves. So, I mean, who knows? The Niners are just kind of doomed to be a mediocre team, maybe make the wild card and not do anything with that. Brock Purdy had his few good years, but, I mean, he really gets a system quarterback. He really is. He goes anywhere else, and he fails. I really think that's true. Shanahan has done great things over there in San Fran for him, but who knows how far they'll really go this year. With the weakest schedule, who knows how far they can actually go. So, Thanksgiving, there's obviously more games on Thanksgiving as well, which I think is really cool. One of the games on Thanksgiving is actually a really good game as well. It is the Dallas Cowboys versus the Chiefs. I literally forgot. Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not sure why my mind just flared right there. But that'll be a very good game. I mean, I'm not sure why Dallas is getting all these, big time games. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but good for them, I guess. But that's going to be a great game as well. I mean, Kansas City had a very, very, even though they went, 15-2 last season, it was the most fraudulent, and I'll say that, the most fraudulent 15-2 I've ever seen in my life. That was They were winning games by like 2 points, missed field goals, bad penalty calls. It was horrible. So they had some questionable wins last year, but that could be a good game. I mean, I love Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is one of the best games on that's one of the best days to watch football. I think it really is. It's just really fun. So that's gonna be a really good really good Thanksgiving game to have. And moving away from that, we're talking about international games. There is 10 teams this year. Was it 10 or 8? I'm not sure exactly. There's a lot of teams moving international this season. They have a lot of teams going international. And a lot of the games, there's so many. The first one you have is this. They don't know the first team, but the Chargers will be playing some team. It's unannounced who they're playing in Brazil in week 1. Week 4, you get the Steelers playing the Vikings in Dublin, Ireland. That's week 4. Week 5, Vikings versus Browns in London. Week 6, Broncos versus Jets in London. Week 7, Rams versus Jags in London. Falcons versus Colts in week 10 in Berlin. And the last international game of the year, Dolphins versus Commanders, week 11 in Spain. And this is awesome. They're expanding their borders. They had never played in Berlin, and they haven't played in Spain. And they've played in London, they've played in Dublin, Brazil was the first time they played there last year. And they're expanding their horizons. I really like that a lot. NFL is really becoming literally a national, international, a global game. I love it. And them being able to expand to overseas, and moving to new locations now is awesome. And you can see like the fans love it. If you go like a lot of the clips from last year when they were playing in London or Dublin or Brazil, a lot of fans are showing, even if they weren't supporting either team, a lot of fans are coming from all around the world, all around the country to come watch those games. I thought that's really cool. You would go to the Brazil game. You saw it was Green Bay versus Philly last year. Eagles versus Green Bay. And you saw fans wearing like Patriots jerseys, Bengals, Browns, whatever. It was all these fans just coming from around the country just come watch an NFL game for the first time. I think that's really cool. And now you got new locations. Then they've never played in Berlin, and they've never played in Spain. So, and there's a lot of teams. Obviously, you got Chargers, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I'm looking at a schedule right now, so I'm counting off the teams. We got 7. Wait, I have to recharge. My bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 12 teams playing overseas this year, maybe 13. The Chargers game is being announced on Wednesday, so we'll know that then. But I mean, this is awesome for the game. Seeing all these players being able to go international, all these games being overseas now. It's awesome for the game, so I love this. That's all I got for this segment. Next segment, we're ending it off talking about the MLB. We're talking about Pete Rose and many other players being removed from the MLB all-time ban list. We'll get to all that after the break. Welcome back to the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nolan Jam. First 4 segments, we talked NFL and NBA. Talked about the NBA. Talked about the games from last night. Previewed the 2 games for tonight. And we talked about Jason Tatum and the Celtics. What's next for them? After that, last segment, we talked about NFL. The schedule just got released. Who's playing international? Big, Christmas, Thanksgiving Day games. Talked about that. This segment, good water. This segment number 5, we're talking Pete Rose and many others being removed from the MLB all-time ban list. So, to break it down, MLB all-time ban list, very few guys are on this list. It is a very short list, and basically, you have to mess up pretty bad to get on this list. And Pete Rose, he's the biggest name on it. He was put on it for betting on games when he was managing the Reds back in the 80s, I think early 90s. Another big name, Joe Jackson, aka Shoeless Joe Jackson. He was put on it. It was proven that he fixed the 1919 World Series in favor of the White Sox, and it just can't happen. You can't be fixing games. Like in that era, it was a lot easier to fix games. It was really easy to kind of you just can't do it. You really can't. So yeah, he was bad. So and many others as well, and many MLB, the Hall of Fame, a few years, I believe it was in 1990, 1991, the MLB, they announced that, if you're on the ban list, there's no possibility you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that was, that's brutal because, Pete Rose is one of the greatest hitters of all time. He really is. He's a great player, 4,000 hits. I mean, all time. He's an all-time hitter. If you think, power hitters, Pete Rose is one of those guys. He was part of that, steroid era. He was probably on some, maybe, but no, it's never proven. But, he is still an all-time hitter. It doesn't matter. 4K hits, I mean, that's only done by very few other players in the history of the MLB. All-time, phenomenal hitter for the Phillies, Reds, whatever. So, when he was managing the Reds and playing for the Phillies, I mean, yeah. But, so, recently, the MLB, the commissioner, excuse me, I gotta rub my eye. Commissioner Rob Manfred had, he announced on Tuesday that, we're, his quote, I'm going to read off my phone real quick. His quote said, "Obviously, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game." Calling people a threat, crazy work, they're not killing people, but, whatever. Manfred wrote a letter, blah, blah, blah. "Moreover, it is hard to conceive of a penalty that has more deterrent effect than one lasts a lifetime with no I don't know. Therefore, I've concluded that permanent ineligibility ends upon the passing of the disciplined individual, and Mr. Rhodes will be removed from the permanently ineligible list." There's more down here. "I've come to a conclusion, and I hope I'm wrong, that I'll make the Hall of Fame after I..." Oh, it's what Pete Rose said. So, yeah. So, the commissioner announced on Tuesday that, hey, they're dead. They can't... These guys were great players all the time, and, we can't let these guys not be in the Hall of Fame. And Pete Rose is literally one of the greatest hitters in MLB history. We cannot let him in because he bet on a few games. He's dead. Let's, take him off the ineligible list and let him be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Obviously he's not inducted yet. He has the possibility of being inducted now. But, I mean, there's no way he doesn't get it. It's Pete Rose, man. It's Pete Rose. But, yeah, I mean, he kind of set a staple, if you're a great player and not being inducted into the Hall of Fame, because them being on the ineligibility rule, the ban list, it became known as, the Pete Rose rule. And, he died. Pete Rose died last September. Yeah, he was 85, pretty young. I mean, he was getting there. He's a pretty old guy. Great career, though. I mean, he died. Brutal. But, seeing him now, being able to be inducted is, it's great. It is the possibility, has a possibility of being inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is, the greatest honor you can have in any sport. And the quote I was saying earlier that I thought it was from Commissioner, but it's from Pete Rose. It stated, "I've come to the conclusion, I hope I'm wrong, that I'll make the Hall of Fame after I die." he said, which I totally disagree with, because the Hall of Fame is for two reasons: your fans and your family. It's for your family if you're here. It's for your fans if you're here. Not if you're 10 feet under. It's actually 6 feet under Pete Rose, but I'm not gonna 6 feet under. But I mean, Pete Rose is just literally one of the greatest players ever. It really is. He is the all-time hit leader. He is some of the most He is the most games played, most singles ever. I mean, he's just an all-time great player. 3 World Series, twice with the Reds, one with the Phillies. When the Reds were actually good. But I don't like the Reds right now. I don't know if you guys know, but I don't like the Reds. Something about them. I just don't like them. But so, I mean, yeah, it's just great for the game. It really is great for the game, seeing these all-time great players, being, available. So, and not just Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson as well. He is, obviously he fixed games. You can't be doing that. You can't be, fixing games. That's pretty bad. But he's still, even with him fixing games, he probably didn't even need to. That White Sox team he was on, and even him in general, he was an all-time great player. Career batting average, 356. That's the top 5 all-time in the MLB. I mean, he would, his fixing is kind of weird. He took money to throw the World Series. Basically, he took money to play bad on purpose and lose. So, in 1919, it sucks. He was probably offered so much money that he couldn't say no. And even with that, he still played phenomenal. He still had a great, even if these guys are playing, 100 years ago, it's so cool to know the history behind it. He batted it was 370 in that series anyway. Didn't make a single error. And, he was phenomenal. But, he couldn't be involved. He couldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He should have been a Hall of Fame inductee 80 years ago. But, the Pete Rose rule, he couldn't. He was on the ban list. So him finally being off that decision, and Manfred's, decision on Tuesday removed 16 players. 16 total players, which is, great. And those guys included, obviously, Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson. I'm going to read them all. It's in this list. Eddie Cicotte, I don't know how to say that last name. Happy Fellish, I've never heard of that. That's a cool name. Chick Gandil, Fred McCullum, Sweetie Risberg, Buck Weaver, Lefty Williams. That's a good player. Joe Gedson, Gene Paulty, Benny Koff, Lee Maggie, Phil Douglas, Cozy Dolan, and Jimmy O'Connell. And, I guess the Phillies' old owner, William Cox. I didn't know the old Phillies owner manager was on that list, too. That's insane to think about. But, I mean, it's insane. It really is insane that, after all these years, these players have finally got the justice they've wanted. They're free, and they can now be inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is honestly great for the sport. Sorry. It's great. It really is. So, all-time players deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, even if, after they die, they deserve to be in it. So, great career to Pete Rose. Obviously, one of the greatest players of all time. So, congrats to him, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and everybody else I already named. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the GSMC Dead Ball Sports Podcast, hosted by GSMC Sports Network. Your continuous support really means the world to us, so please feel free to like, comment, and share with anybody you know. If you wish to stay up to date with all things GSMC, make sure to follow us on all of our social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. We're on it. Just go to any social media, search GSMC Sports Network, hit us with that follow to stay up to date with all things GSMC. But like I said, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Have a good one.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to